Hello viewers and welcome to the latest episode of the Huddle. I have with me Maarten Haijer, Secretary General of the EGBA. Your first time on the Huddle, welcome.
Thank you very much, Tim.
Pleasure to have you on. Plenty we can talk about because you're covering pretty much the whole of Europe. Can we start off with reflecting on what the last 12 months have had in store for you guys?
Yeah, it's been a busy year, I guess for everyone, of course. We worked a lot on regulation, a lot of regulatory developments across Europe, a lot of concerns as well, more strict regulation. But yeah, that's I think the name of the game that we're in at the moment. So that's been very busy for us. And then we did quite a lot of work around safer gambling, which is a high priority. It relates to regulation, of course, as well. So that's something that we will continue to develop. But we have a proposal how to have a standardized markers of harm in Europe, which is being negotiated now. That's one of our priorities. And then the other thing that's really important for the operators as well is that we made guidelines on AML, because the rules in Europe around AML are really based for financial services. They're not geared towards the industry, our industry, or other industries. And so we have developed guidelines how these AML rules need to be implemented by the gambling industry. So these are examples of things that we've been doing the past 12 months.
What's it like for you guys covering so many different markets and they're so very different? Is it similar to perhaps an operator, a multinational operator, in that you have to adapt to, you work with people in one market and they have these rules, and in this market slightly different regulations? What's that like and what challenges does it bring?
It is challenging, but it's also super exciting, of course, because we can see across Europe. And obviously we don't have the access to the people, politicians, like someone that's in a local market. But we do have the advantage of having the knowledge of different markets that we can bring to a political discussion in a specific jurisdiction. So that's one of the huge advantages that we have. We have a good overview of what's happening, and we can use the data and information and examples when we go in and speak to regulators, for instance. So that's been, that's a challenge. But it's about a third of what we do. Another third of what we do is European legislation. I told you before, anti-money laundering, the new rules on how the internet is governed, financial services. And about one other third of our work is around safer gambling and public affairs and communication, and that part is hugely increasing as well.
In terms of performance and regulation in the last sort of, I guess, again, 12 months, which countries have, I guess, maybe, I'm not sure how the right way to phrase it, but pleased you the most and given the most encouragement?
I mean, as you know, there's a lot of political discussions about regulation, so it's very difficult to pick out one market that's really the best. But Denmark has been pretty stable. They have still stable regulation, and they're very much focused on safer gambling, so that would be one of my examples. And Spain is another example where there's a lot of political discussion at the moment, but for the time being it's still a good market that's accessible for operators. But as you noticed today as well in your talks with other people, things are moving, things are under pressure, so we'll have to wait and see where this goes.
Sure. And in the interest of balance, if I were to flip it and say which countries have perhaps given you the most work and perhaps not necessarily concerned, but again presented the most challenges, are there any that have been particularly difficult recently?
I mean, there's difference between us being concerned about something and being very busy about it, but for both I think really Germany has been quite disappointing to EPO. It was such a huge market, and the fact that there would be regulation was very hopeful. But it's very difficult to see how this will develop positively based on what's currently happening. So I would say Germany is really a disappointment in our where it could have gone and where we are at, and I guess the lack of vision where it should be going as well.
Yeah, I mean, this week we'll be speaking with Jörg Hoffmann of Melcher's Law, and it's always interesting speaking to him, but at the same time I can see what you mean. It's whenever I speak to him, there's been little movement in Germany, little development.
Yeah. I think they haven't really made up their mind in Germany what they want to achieve. They don't have a proper vision of where they want to go. If you compare to France, where they're now thinking about potentially regulating the casino market, they went from turnover to GGR. Not to say that's a perfect market, but there's a vision where it should be going. In Germany, it seems to be lacking, and I think that kind of is the reason why it's not moving forward and why certain things are just stagnating. It seems.
Yeah, you mentioned France. Let's talk about France next because it was on my list. I mean, can we see the country regulating online casino anytime soon?
I mean, I guess if it needs to be done, it needs to be done fairly soon because there will be elections coming up. So usually those are not very good. The combination of gambling and elections don't go well together. So if it happens, it has to happen in short notice, relatively short, or otherwise it will be postponed to after the election. So yeah, the positive thing is there's a discussion. And the reason why there's a discussion, because there's a very good report of the French regulator saying that over 3 million people play online casino games, very much also since COVID. And there are estimations that the online casino market is around 2 billion euros GGR. And if you want to have a protected customers, you need to regulate, not prohibit. I think that's the conclusion of, not explicitly, but of the report of the French regulator. And it really set into motion a discussion. We are hopeful, but yeah, we're certainly not certain that something will happen, but we're happy with the discussion that is taking place at the moment.
Sure. And moving slightly south, and perhaps, I'm not sure if it's less positive, but Italy, the EGBA recently spoke about, maybe give us an overview of the situation there at the moment.
I mean, Italy is a market that has been regulated very early on. I think it was after the UK, one of the first markets that have been regulated in a positive way. It's difficult to see where the Italian market currently is heading. Yet the advertising ban, which we think is very counterproductive. We appreciate there's concerns about advertising, not just in Italy, many places. They can be different tone, they can be maybe less, but a complete ban we think is really not helpful. It's counterproductive. It's good for the black market, not good for consumer protection. And more recently, the idea to have hugely increased licensing fees, which are really millions of euros. Also there the question is, we appreciate there needs to be tax revenue in these difficult times, but this is not the way to raise tax. So what is the vision, what's the view behind these changes in the gambling market? And is there a concern that the market will still function after these changes, or do Italian politicians, is that not in their consideration? So where is the vision, where is the view? I think that's in Italy really a serious concern for us.
Sure. A couple of final questions from me, looking ahead. Quite broadly, what can we expect from the EGBA in 2024?
Obviously, we'll work more on regulation. That's absolutely key for our members. Raising the bar of the industry. So, as I said, I think on safer gambling, the industry really needs to move a gear up. We are moving in the right direction as a whole, but we certainly need to do more. We should not give politicians the arguments to say that they need to regulate because the industry does nothing. We need to, I mean, you can't do it 100%, but we need to be much more proactive. So we're trying to raise the bar, get the whole industry with us. There will be important focus. There will be European Parliament elections, new commission. We don't expect European regulation for the whole sector, but digital consumers, vulnerable consumers, minor protection online, these will be themes that will be on the agenda. Maybe not gambling specific, but that will touch our sector as well. So that's what we're looking forward to as well. And yeah, a number of initiatives that we're employing ourselves. So we're busy year again, to be honest.
Sure. And I wanted to end on a positive note. I know you mentioned earlier Denmark as a positive market, but if you were to pick out one market or country that you think we can genuinely expect something good this year from, in terms of either performance or regulation or new initiatives, is there one you could? I know it's a bit of a crystal ball question, but is there one that you might be hoping for big things from?
France. That would be very good, and I think it will also be good because France, of course, is quite. In the perception of people, quite heavily regulated country in general. If France would then regulate online casino, I think it would be very positive. And the other country I would pick out is Finland, because Finland is the last country in Europe, in the EU at least, that still has an online monopoly. And they are at the stage of where there to be a legislative proposal, and if that's the case, we won't have any pure monopolies online anymore. So, very positive development. So I'll pick out France and Finland as my two positive picks.
Excellent. Well, like I say, it's good to end on a positive note. We know in gambling with reputation and regulation in the past, not always the right headlines, but certainly, hopefully, some positive headlines this year. But
thank you very much.
Yeah.
It was good to talking to you.
Yeah.
And great initiative to have these discussions.
Thank you very much, and thanks for joining us. Cheers. Speak to you soon.
My pleasure.
To our viewers, thanks for watching.